Game over.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Game Over Ottawa. My name is Nick Robinson, and I am super duper happy to be here tonight, obviously, after this great Senators win in Carolina. Yes, the Ottawa Senators won a game in Carolina. I kind of can't believe it either. I know you all, should be feeling good. We should all be feeling good about this one here. I don't know where I'm going exactly with this intro because I'm still a little stunned over what we just saw, because I think in every scenario tonight, I don't know if everybody's the same type of weird that I am. I tend on Senators game days, days where I'm not busy, like parts of today, and I've got a bit of downtime. I sort of like to think about the game ahead at a time. I don't think there was any scenario though that I thought of going into this game tonight. I've been feeling okay about how the Sens have been playing lately, but I don't think there was any scenario where I foresaw tonight going as well as it did. The Ottawa Senators win 3-0 in Carolina. Pretty unbelievable stuff. Thank you to everyone in the chat for joining. Thanks for tuning in. We're gonna get started here. Just want to remind you all before we dive into things to check out the flagship show of the Game Over Network on the Game Over Network channel. It's Hyperdrive Hockey. It's where you can find all things hockey across various leagues in different countries, whatever it is and wherever it is. Max, Daphne, and Kev have you covered for all your hockey news with a steady dose of fun and fan engagement. You can find Hyperdrive Hockey on the Game Over Network YouTube channel and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on the Hyperdrive Hockey page at thegameovernetwork.com. It's all linked below. You can have a look there. Man, let's get right into it. I'm still kind of stunned at what we just saw. Let's go through a game story here. I don't want to start talking about all the players that impressed the hell out of me tonight. I think those ones are quite obvious. We'll get into that. From the onset, I think the Senators looked really locked in this one. I think you could tell in the first couple of minutes that they really had an intensity about them tonight. I think one thing I've noticed with this team this year, and I'm a person that's been generally positive, generally pretty, I felt okay about the Senators game in particular. The results, it's a different thing. I think I've been a little mixed just like everybody else, but I've generally this year felt pretty okay about how the teams looked on the ice. But one thing I have noticed throughout this year is that you can really notice early on, and I don't know if there's a stat for this. Perhaps it goes hand in hand with their record when they score early and when they're doing, their record when they score first. I think they've got 10 wins now in the games that they've scored first. It's really good. So you can tell when the Senators are locked in early because it generally indicates that you're going to get a pretty good result from them. Ty, if you're referring to the Sensed button, I don't have it. But I'd love to press it right now because the Carolina Hurricanes absolutely did get Sensed tonight. Again, the Senators looked good early in this game. The forecheck was going strong. They seemed to have good jump. They seemed to have their legs about them, which was great. Coming off a good game against the Anaheim Ducks, where I think they felt and looked really controlled throughout the majority of that performance. Again, they looked locked in. Hurricanes, though, are always going to give that pushback. They're an excellent, excellent hockey team. Been one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Been one of the best teams in the league now for a few years. And, this is always going to be a tough place to go. No score in the first period. But again, I think the Senators looked pretty well battle-tested. Again, coming into this game, this is a place they had not won. I don't know if anybody else remembers it. I remember it really vividly. The last time the Senators won in Carolina was the infamous game which Anton Forsberg stole for them after Pierre Dorion at the time in the 21-22 season called out the team, basically called out the goaltending, called out Matt Murray at the time, just said they needed a goalie to step up and essentially save their team at that point because they were floundering. It was another November game, the dreaded month of November. I know we don't want to look back on any of those, but yeah, that was the game where they saw Anton Forsberg made over 40 saves and Drake Batherson scored a late winning goal for the Senators in that one. And that was the last time they won Carolina. So, again, they looked good in that first period, came out with a lot of jump. Second period, though, is where things started to really slow down. And it almost reminded me of Guy Boucher era Senators hockey, where things were a slow pace. There were just sticks and lanes everywhere. Nobody had any rushes. It was really boring hockey to watch. I'm the type of weird where my favorite thing that the Senators can do, absolute favorite thing, is play a 0-0 hockey game. Favorite team any hockey team can do. Favorite thing for me is play a 0-0 tight checking hockey game. I'm not a big like an 8-7 game guy like the one against LA earlier. I don't like the high scoring. I like a good tight checking hockey game. So this was music to my ears. Senators did finally break through. Just about the midway point of the second period. Michael Amadio, great work in tight. And you notice the Senators tend to play a lot better when they get good play from their depth players. We've been calling for it. We've been begging for it. Michael Amadio makes a good play behind the net, centers Shane Pinto, and for the first time in 19 games, first time since his game in against Florida, first game of the season, home opener, Shane Pinto opens the scoring for the Senators, and you could see the body language, the reaction from Pinto, from Nick Cousins in particular, the way he hugged him like 3 times when they were sort of grouping together to celebrate. Just awesome stuff to see. So Shane Pinto gets the monkey off the back. I don't know if he did the proverbial monkey off the back type of celebration that you see from players the odd time when they've been in a big drought and score a goal like that, but man, oh man, did he need that. And that was the type of goal, and you knew it was going to happen when he did eventually break that duck, that the goal was going to go straight to his legs. And you could tell for the rest of the game, the jump that Shane Pinto had, the jump that whole third line had, since Nick Cousins got scratched a couple of weeks ago, I think it was on that California road trip against LA, one of those games maybe, where he got scratched. He's come back in, and on that line with Shane Pinto and Michael Amadio, they have been very steady. They're not producing offense at a great rate at all, but defensively, they've been really, really reliable and really dependable. And so it was good to see them get rewarded for a goal there. Great work from Michael Amadio behind the net, and that's exactly what you need to see from Michael Amadio. It's good stuff. Shane Pinto, who has been all around it in every way the last couple of games, gets that big goal. I'll skip right to the third period because there just wasn't much that happened in the second period either. I don't think the Hurricanes had many great chances from what I can remember. Ullmark didn't have to work too hard. Third period, it was, again, a lot of back and forth, but no real sustained ozone pressure for anybody at any time, I felt. It was just a lot of one shot here, one shot there. The only real standout moment throughout most of the third period was a big Linus Ullmark toe save on Martin Necas that he made early in the third period. And again, when this team gets goaltending, when they get timely saves, you can see how much confidence that gives the players. And, that really spoke to it because the Senators stuck to the game plan. They had it clearly worked out here, how they were going to play sort of a chess match with the Hurricanes throughout most of this game. They played it very well. They soldiered on, continued with it, and it resulted with just over 5 minutes to go in the game. Nick Jensen takes sort of just a drop pass on a broken play, walks in. He had a good look earlier than this, but sort of waited for Kochetkov to go down, and then Kochetkov sort of got back up, and that's when Nick Jensen fired at 5-hole, beat him. Nick Jensen scored his second of the season to make it 2-0 Ottawa. Again, great work from the Senators, really showing how that forecheck can sort of pay off. They've been a good forechecking team throughout a lot of this season. Again, they've not scored nearly enough goals off of that sort of forward pressure, but good to see Nick Jensen get rewarded too, just like Shane Pinto. Nick Jensen, I'll talk about him a little bit more in depth later, but man, oh man, has he been a good addition to this team, and good to see him get rewarded. The Senators had a waved off empty net goal, weirdly, when Brady Tkachuk sort of tried to slam on the brakes at the blue line, and when Drake Batherson fired it in, the play was deemed offside, didn't count, but it sort of got better as Shane Pinto was able to bury his second of the game. And this particular fan, me right here, that picked up Shane Pinto tonight for fantasy, knowing he was going to break that duck. Nostradamus, big act here, gets his second of the game and ice the game for the Ottawa Senators with just a few seconds left on the clock. And Linus Ullmark picks up his second shutout of the season. Very reminiscent of the game in Toronto, where the Senators put on a really clinical, controlled defensive effort. I'd say this one was better defensively than the Toronto one even. They kept the Hurricanes to the outside throughout a lot of the game, and they really did it. It's a great full 60 effort from the Senators. Sticks were in the lane all night. They blocked a lot of shots. There was one I remember late on in the game. Brady Tkachuk took one right off the foot. Josh Norris took a couple of big hits, made another couple of blocks as well, just as he normally does. And a really true working class win. The Senators essentially doing to the Carolina Hurricanes what the Carolina Hurricanes have done to every team in the NHL for years. They're not going to entertain the hell out of you, but they're just going to soundly beat you. And the Senators did it tonight in Carolina. That's your game story for this one in Carolina tonight. I want to take some time now that we can book ahead here and just talk about a couple of the key performers tonight and just generally analyze them, what they're looking like in the trajectory of the season and stuff like that. We'll get to those players in just a second, but I want to do a quick shout out to La Ruche. That's our second period sponsor. The Game Over Network is an independent production focused on community, inclusion, and quality people. And if you're interested in supporting the Game Over Network, we have a crowdfunding options available that you can find in the link below. In the description of this episode, you'll see a link to our Patreon page. We're also working on a page through La Ruche, a crowdfunding platform for companies originating in Quebec, just like the Game Over Network. So for La Ruche, we're aiming to raise about $15,000. And if we hit that goal, we'll gain access to government grants, and that'll allow us to employ more people. So if you have any ideas for what you'd like to see as giveaways from these crowdfunding efforts, let us know in the comments of this video, in the chat here, whatever, on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, our Discord server. There's a link for that too. You can find all the links for that in the description of this episode here. All right, let's talk about a couple players. I first want to take some time talk about Nick Jensen. I took a look at Natural Stat Trick after the game tonight. I think Jensen, relative to the team, was pretty strong tonight. The Senators, just based on score effects, I'd say for the most part, were underwater for a lot of the night, and just on the basis that they were playing the Carolina Hurricanes. Were underwater sort of in terms of expected goals for the game tonight. Carolina is going to do that to you. They're going to do that to every team. And, it wasn't completely lopsided. I mean, the deserve to win meter is always going to tilt in Carolina's favor, it seems, in most games. But the Senators, again, I felt, you had to see it throughout tonight. They kept the Hurricanes outside a lot, and a lot of the looks Carolina had, Linus Ullmark saw it. He wasn't screened. They did a really good job the whole night. I think Nick Jensen was a big part of that. Look, Nick Jensen's been so good this year, and I think we're all aware of how good Nick Jensen has been. What a good partner he's been for Thomas Chabot, and how much he's been able to do for Thomas Chabot. That stability he's provided for him. This is the best Thomas Chabot has looked since his rookie season, hands down. And we owe that to Nick Jensen, straight up. It almost makes me sad in an essence, because seeing what Chabot is right now is what he should have been for like the last 6 years. And in some parallel universe where Dylan DeMello was always an Ottawa Senator, as he should have been, and wasn't traded at the 2019 deadline to the Winnipeg Jets for just a third-round pick. Didn't like that trade when they made it. I still don't like it. This version, what we're seeing of Thomas Chabot now, is what he always should have been. And Nick Jensen is the best partner, hands down, that Thomas Chabot has played with since Dylan DeMello, which is crazy considering the 5 years that it's been since that partnership in a tank season where the Senators didn't even have their first round pick. Man, it's just unbelievable how good Nick Jensen has been for the Senators. I was in the building against the Islanders when he scored his first career goal, and I think that goal, the goal tonight, a lot of it speaks to some of the fundamentals about Jensen's game that I think have really impressed me throughout this year. I think one of my concerns after the Senators made the Jacob Chychrun trade to Washington and got Nick Jensen coming back, I was very fine with the idea of trading Jacob Chychrun just sort of to restore some balance to how the Senators lined up left and right. And I was okay with the idea of bringing in Nick Jensen. I did have a couple of reservations just based on his stats last year. The Capitals didn't seem to be too impressed with how his play had progressed in the last year. Again, he's a defenseman in his mid-30s, and that's completely understandable at this junction of his career. He's not exactly in his prime anymore, but I think the one thing that's impressed me about Nick Jensen at his age is the foot speed and the compete level. You can see it when he plays. He's very shifty, and he moves a lot better than a defenseman in his mid-30s should. And I think you're seeing the chemistry with Chabot and how that's played out, because a lot of shifts, particularly in the last two games, you saw it, I think, on the first goal in the Anaheim game, and you saw it on Jensen's goal tonight. The Sens typically have this tendency when they have ozone shifts with Chabot and Jensen. There's a lot of up and down from below the goal to the point, and everybody seems to be sort of moving around. It's like this beautiful chaos where both defensemen are being activated. A couple of times they play drop passes to each other, Chabot and Jensen, and this beautiful chaos, and it works. Jensen fits it really, really perfectly, and it's really nice to see. He's been such a good fit on that blue line. He's the type of player the Senators have been crying out for a long, long time. Believe he signed next year as well, so that's good. Obviously, you want to still keep him fresh at his age, and there'll be concerns as the season goes on about how Jensen's going to be able to take care of himself, stay fit, because again, these are normal concerns you have for a player in their mid-30s, but on the body of work he showed so far this season, I'm not too concerned just yet about Nick Jensen. He just seems to be getting better, if anything, and the more he plays with Chabot, the more chemistry they seem to be putting together. So it's really nice to see, and I really hope it can continue. I think he was north of 23 minutes by the end of the game tonight. Again, if Nick Jensen can play, continue to play north of 20 minutes in games, the Senators are going to have they're going to win a lot of their matchups, because they're getting good hockey out of him in those minutes, and it's good to see, particularly with Artem Zub being down. He's really, really stepped it up. So awesome to see from Nick Jensen. Other guy I want to talk about tonight, obviously, Shane Pinto. How nice it was for him to get that monkey off his back and get that goal. Like Vern is saying in the chat, Pinto, finally, he needed it. Absolutely, he did. Look, I've talked a lot about Shane Pinto on the shows that I've been on this year. I've been on with Damian a lot. We've talked a lot about, the Senators' depth and how they need more offense, particularly from it, how many things are lacking sort of towards the bottom of the lineup. But I don't think Shane Pinto has necessarily played badly, especially the last couple of weeks. I think there were times sort of in that losing streak that the Senators had in November where he was really timid and he wasn't really noticeable. But in this run now where the Senators are 6-2-1 in their last 9 games, I'd say there's been a noticeable step up in Shane Pinto's game. Before that, I was questioning his health. I wasn't sure exactly how he was feeling based on how he was playing, because he had that injury earlier in the season that we never really got any clarification on what exactly was going on with him. But he's had a step to his game now the last couple nights, particularly going back to last Saturday against the Nashville Predators. He had a lot of looks in that game, couldn't seem to buy one. Sportsnet spent a lot of time on that broadcast highlighting him. Go to the Islander game, in the first period of that game, he had like 2-3 chances in the opening minutes, and the result of that game where the Senators lose, they really, really could have used him burying one of those chances. Even the Anaheim game this week, he had a couple of looks. So it was awesome for him to finally be able to buy one. I mentioned it in sort of my game recap that since Nick Cousins has come back into the lineup and formed that line with Amadio and Pinto, they seem to be getting a little bit of chemistry going, which is awesome to see. Amadio still hasn't scored since the Toronto game. That's, over a month ago now. Cousins has been getting on the score sheet. He's gotten a couple goals against Anaheim and Nashville. So he's at least being able to chip in offensively. But if the Senators can get consistent scoring from this third line, just like we all thought they would from game 1 this season, they're just a better team for it. It's not shocking to me that every time these guys score, every time the depth provides a bit of a spark for this team, they tend to win the game. Tonight, they got the early goal from Gregor against Anaheim. Again, last Saturday in Nashville, they get goals from Cousins and Bernard Docker stepping up in that game. Go back to a month ago in those games against Boston and Toronto, the 2 hallmark wins of the season before this one. Amadio scored in both of those games. When these guys are producing at the bottom of the lineup, taking pressure off of the big guns, who in a game like tonight, they're matched very well by a well-structured defensive Hurricanes team, you see the results that they're able to get in this case. So awesome to see. Awesome to see Pinto step up, be able to get one. And, the empty netter is just, cherry on top for the Senators. Ty saying no Perron hurts the depth scoring. Absolutely it does. I am still skeptical to a degree about how much David Perron's going to be able to produce and for the money that the Senators are paying him. We just haven't seen it yet. And it's not been fair to him because he just hasn't been able to get into the lineup consistently with everything he's had going on off of the ice. He's had a couple of injuries here and there. But yeah, it's definitely hurt the team because, a lot of people had him plugged into this third line equation in training camp, and definitely having a quality NHL body like David Perron, not available for a lot of the season has not helped the depth. But you're seeing guys like Cousins now in the last couple of weeks really start to elevate his play. And, suddenly you don't notice that an established player like David Perron isn't in the lineup, which is good, which is what you need. I'd say, too, just on Pinto and sort of the depth overall, the reintroduction of Zach Ostapchuk into this team has done wonders. He's also found chemistry with Ridley Gregg and Noah Gregor on that line. Again, the depth players of the Senators looking well. Just to wrap up on Shane Pinto, though, expectations still high on this guy. His defensive play has been pretty solid. I'm not going to sit here and, like I said, complain about the overall play because I think it's been pretty good for a lot of this season. But you need more scoring from him. This tonight gives him something to build off of. I'm going to be in the building tomorrow night for the game against Pittsburgh. Quick turnaround for the Sens. And hopefully he's able to build off of it because the Senators, as we know, are a much, much better team when Shane Pinto is playing good. They got that 1-2-3 punch with Stützle and Norris and Pinto. It's beautiful when it's all firing. If we can just get them firing at the same time, man, it's just a different hockey team when they're like that. Last thing I wanted to talk about, last book segment here, I wanted to make sure I parked some time to talk about some of the discourse in the fan base this week, particularly around Coach Travis Green, some of his lineup decisions, and I think it's extremely relevant given that the Senators are going into a back-to-back situation tomorrow against the Pittsburgh Penguins back at the Canadian Tire Center before the Sens go on a 9-game road trip. I wanted to focus on a couple of issues there. Before I do that, I just want to let you all know about the Game Over merchandise. That's right, because what better way to support something you love than by rocking it as clothing? Game Over's apparel line has dropped with 3 unique designs, so whether you feel the nostalgic pull of our retro skater design, or you want to make a statement with our established design, you want to wear your love for goalies proudly with our live and die by the goalie design, or if you need another coffee to get through the winter, we've got you covered. Designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg, use the QR code and the link in the description now and take a look through our apparel store and help us rebuild local sport media in Canada while repping your community. Christmas update, Christmas special too. Using the code GO, capital G, capital O, holidays, capital H, GOH, capital holidays, go holidays. We're offering 15% off on all winter products. Includes the hoodies and our beanie. This will be active until December 25th, Christmas Day, with a different sale dropping on Boxing Day. So make sure to check out the Game Over merch. Make sure to check that out in the description of this video, and stay tuned for further sales. All right, a lot of discourse in the fan base the last week or so. Like I said about Coach Travis Green. The Game Over merch. Make sure to check that out. Look, I was not opposed to his decision last weekend to go with Anton Forsberg in net against the New York Islanders. Wasn't opposed to it. Thought about it at the time. Kind of wanted Linus Ullmark to go on a back-to-back in that one. But it made sense to me to go to Anton Forsberg, keep the goalies fresh. New York Islanders aren't a ridiculously high-scoring team. And ultimately, it blew up in their face. It happened. Senators scored on three times on 12 shots on Forsberg and an empty net, and the Islanders won that game 4-2. Just double checking here because Ty is saying in the chat that there was some sound issues. I've got the stream loaded up. Doesn't sound like there's sound issues to me. I just want to make sure. New York Islanders aren't a ridiculously high. Sounds good. I'm gonna continue soldiering on here. Sorry about that. All right, look. I bring this up because it's pretty relevant. Going into the big game tomorrow, it's now a huge game as the Senators are just over 500 now, looking to win that dreaded third game in a row, which they haven't done all season, unbelievably. They're over 500 now, and they still haven't pieced together a 3-game win streak this season. Unbelievable. So tomorrow is, fair to say it's a massive game, especially considering how good the Pittsburgh Penguins have been lately, minus the Derby game, the Nova Scotia Derby, as I'll dub it, with McKinnon and Crosby earlier this week, where they got blown out. Look, the Penguins have been very good lately, and they're coming into Ottawa. Ottawa's going to be on a back-to-back. Question now is just the same as it was last Sunday. Do you go with Linus Ullmark again, or do you go back to Anton Forsberg? I would go with Ullmark. Coming off a shutout, he didn't see that high of a body of work tonight, I don't think. But again, I'm not in that room. I don't know, what Justin Peters, the goaltending coach, sort of has, if he has an opinion on this stuff, if they're concerned about preserving Ullmark in general, they want to keep him fresh. I would get it. I would completely understand if they chose to go to Anton Forsberg tomorrow. It makes sense. It's a back-to-back, and they just played the Carolina Hurricanes. It makes all the sense in the world to go back to Linus Ullmark. But focusing on Travis Green, I don't think either way, we got to keep some restraint in sort of our analysis of this whole thing, because we got to consider these things. These guys are human beings. They have energy levels and things like that. I think we got to keep that in mind when we're sort of scrutinizing these decisions, because I think Travis Green got a lot of unfair criticism from Senators fans in the past week. Look, like I said, I've been a lot more positive about the Senators' play overall than a lot of other fans. I generally have really liked the structure that they've shown this year. Aside from maybe the penalty kill is like the only issue, I think the new coaching change has been fantastic for this team. They're a lot more defensively sound. Guys like Brady Tkachuk, Drake Batherson making a lot more defensive plays this year than they were in previous years. They look like they know where to be on the ice now, and that's not lost on me at all. I've noticed it from game one. The compete level of this team has been a lot higher. They look just a lot more assured to me. The results obviously haven't followed, exactly to plan, because by a lot of analytic metrics, they're top 10, 15 team in a lot of these stats. Expected goals against. They're pretty middling in their offense, which is fine, but they're analytically very sound defensively, and they haven't gotten the goaltending a lot of times. My God, have they gotten it lately? So I think Travis Green, in light of all that, has caught some unfair criticism, especially going back to last Sunday. It wasn't his fault that Anton Forsberg went in against the Islanders and made 9 saves. He wasn't telling Anton Forsberg to dodge the puck. It just happened. Unfortunately, it's happened a couple of times this year, the other one being that Ullmark game against the Philadelphia Flyers back in November. But, that's not something to me that we can place on the coach. I think coaches in this market, there have been bad coaches in this marketplace. DJ Smith, I was never a fan of. I didn't like I didn't like practically any part of DJ Smith hockey for the 5 years. The unbelievable that it was about that long, like 4 or 5 years, that DJ Smith was the head coach of this hockey team. And, to me, in my mind, has not didn't get the same amount of criticism and sort of flack that Travis Green has gotten since he was hired here. A lot of people were down on Travis Green from the second he was hired and willing to not give him the benefit of the doubt. And that has been very apparent to me throughout a lot of this year. But if you look at just the metrics that we can judge a coach on, how the team actually plays, again, whether for you that's a lot of the eye test, for me it's a lot of the analytics and the data, and in a lot of what I watch too, Travis Green has made an imprint on this team. So, again, whether he decides tomorrow to go to Forsberg, or he decides to go Ullmark back-to-back, whatever that decision is, whatever the result is tomorrow, I don't think we can put, unless he really goes out there and makes some crazy lineup decisions, we can't continue to slam the coach here, because sometimes there's just bad luck in hockey. And the Senators have one of the worst PDOs in the NHL. That's, your save percentage plus your shooting percentage. They've had one of the worst ones in hockey this year. Again, they're now 6-2-1 in the last 9 games. In Linus Ullmark's last 6 starts in that stretch, he's 5-0-1 and has a .949 save percentage now. He has been fantastic, and that's how helped to sort of paper over some of the bad luck that they had earlier in the season, which is fantastic because they've needed it. But, that sort of luck on the goaltending, that's not a sustainable goaltending run that Linus Ullmark's putting together. It's really nice, but, it's going to drag back to the middle at some point, as is natural. We can't pin it all on the coach when it goes south, especially when, Travis Green, in my mind, the data shows he doesn't deserve it. So I think Sens fans, we, in my opinion, got to continue to be nice to our coach here. Got to continue to support, because I think he's doing a good job. Again, I would go Ullmark tomorrow, but Travis Green's got more data than I do. He's got more data than you do. I'm not going to be super upset if he decides to go to Forsberg. Maybe he already decided to go to Forsberg, yes, because they do actually plan a lot of these things several days in advance, just as I'm sure they did last weekend. I'm sure they had Anton Forsberg penciled in for that start against the Islanders a week in advance. I don't know if they've had the same thing penciled in for the Penguins tomorrow based on how last weekend went, but I'd say certainly there's a good chance they may have already predetermined. If they haven't, I'm going Ullmark tomorrow, because he was fantastic tonight. He has been fantastic for a couple of weeks now, and the results are improving. Like I said, 6-2-1 in their last 9 games. It's awesome stuff from the Senators lately. Let's give this guy a chance, because some people wrote him off, Travis Green, from the second he was hired. I think it was back in May, and we're now into December, and 14-3-1 or 14-3-2 is not the best record ever. It's tied for a wild card spot. That's something. The Senators, though, you got to look at this objectively. They have not been over 500 in December in 7 years. Since 2017, under Guy Boucher, they have not had a record this good at this juncture of the season, like they do right now under Travis Green. It's not amazing. The standards still should be higher. We should still be demanding better from these players. Quite frankly, they deserve better. But let's look at this for what it is. It's the best start they've had in 7 years. We're not even we're not even at the halfway point of the season yet. Still a lot of hockey to go here in the season. This 9-game road trip that's coming up is sure going to tell us a lot about what this team is and who they are. But from what I've seen, there is a lot to like, and hopefully the Senators can continue to back that up and maybe not make me look really, really silly. We're going to move into our overtime segment now. Before I do that, I just want to make sure I re-shout out Hyperdrive Hockey. It's the flagship show of the Game Over Network. On the Game Over Network channel, Hyperdrive Hockey, all things hockey across various leagues in multiple countries. Just reminding you again, whatever it is and wherever it is, Max, Daphne, and Kev have you covered for all your hockey news with a steady dose of fun and fan engagement. So you can find Hyperdrive Hockey on the Game Over Network YouTube channel or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts on the Hyperdrive Hockey page at thegameovernetwork.com. All right, let's take a look at some of your comments in here and chat a little bit before we shut her down for the night after a 3-0 Senators win. Lots of positivity in here, which is always nice to see. Ty, you're always in here throwing comments in. Appreciate you. Adam, you as well. You guys are always in here. Adam saying amazing to think that Senators are getting great goaltending. Yeah, it's awesome. And this is the goaltending we thought we were going to get when they acquired Linus Ullmark day of the Stanley Cup final, Game 7. This is what we thought we were getting. And what he's shown the last 2 weeks is what Linus Ullmark should be and, what the team frankly deserves based on how they've played. They deserve this level of goaltending. The goaltending they were getting from him in October and that first half of November was not what we signed up for. This run right now is exactly it. It's awesome to see. Hopefully, Anton Forsberg with that little bit of rest now. There was people really calling for like a tandem here based on the decent start that Forsberg had, but hopefully with sort of the rest he gets, a bit of time off, bit more calm, seeing how good of a run Ullmark is on. Hopefully games like he had last Sunday against the Islanders are a blip and he can get his game back on track. Because if they get good goaltending from the both of them, man, oh man, this team's going to be good. A lot of positivity about Pinto in here. And Ty also echoing, this is the Ullmark we've been waiting for. This type of goaltending the Senators will be in every game. Absolutely. I'm going to be there tomorrow against Pittsburgh. I'm really hoping. I've been to one game this year, and it was a Forsberg start against the Islanders at home. Not last night, the one before that, where they lost, and wasn't an inspiring goaltending performance. I want an Ullmark game. I want to experience an Ullmark game. I just want to see it. I want to see the Senators with an elite goaltender. I want to see it. That's me personally. Yeah. Good night. Good night for the Ottawa Senators here, guys. All right. If nobody else has got anything going on, I think that's a good spot to call it, folks. Ottawa Senators march into Carolina, place they had not won, like I said, since 21-22 season. With that crazy game where they won 3-2. Anton Forsberg made over 40 saves in that game. It wasn't quite that tonight. They didn't have to, pray that hard. They didn't have to lock out that hard tonight. They put in a really, really good effort tonight, showing a lot of growth. I would put this win right up there with the Boston game and the Toronto game for efforts this season. It was fantastic for the Senators. They looked awesome tonight. Got a big game tomorrow. Pittsburgh Penguins. So the kid is in town. He's not got too many trips left here at his age. Who knows how many left he's got. But, I'm excited to go to that one personally. I'm excited for that one to be on Hockey Night in Canada. Penguins been playing well. 2 teams now in the playoff hunt. Senators, yes, they are in the playoff hunt. They're here. They've worked themselves into this. Hopefully they can keep it up, get a big home ice result. Tomorrow is the last home game they have, December 14, last home game they have before January 9th. 9-game road trip in there. A lot of late Game Over Ottawas will be in there. So that's going to be an interesting one. It's going to tell us a lot about who and what this team is. So make sure you stick around on the channel for that. Thanks, Adam, for tuning in. Great comments tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Go Sens, go. That's going to do it for me. I've been Nick Robinson. Thanks for tuning in to Game Over Ottawa for this December 13th recap after a great win against the Carolina Hurricanes. Make sure to tune in tomorrow after tomorrow's game against the Penguins. I believe Charlie and Maude are going to be covering that one for you guys. So make sure to circle back for that. Thanks for tuning in. Great win for the Senators. Let's hope they can make it 3 in a row for the first time this season. That's going to be tomorrow night. Take care, guys, and good night.